In previous sessions, we discussed about memory mapping and had an idea about how PLC works. Now let's jump for the next basic concept required, that is addressing. Digital addressing. When talking about digital addressing, the first topic or the first addressing type that pops into every PLC engineer is input register. The purpose of this input register is to take a feedback from the physical world and move it forward to the PLC processor so that the PLC can perform its operation. The S7200 modules supports the process image input registers in bits, bytes, words or double words. Now let's see the addressing format. Now before moving forward, I would like to point out a very important thing here, that is kindly concentrate on the addressing format, because when we move ahead with PLC programming, if you remember the addressing formats, then the programming will literally become very easier for you. So let's see now how to give the addresses for input register. Let's first see its syntax. For bit address, first there will be a file identifier. The purpose of this file identifier is to tell the PLC or is to tell the program that this is of type input or output or memory. Now for input register, the file identifier is capital I. The capital I is followed by byte address, then a dot, then the corresponding bit address. Now as we know from our previous memory mapping knowledge that 1 byte is equal to 8 bits, counting from 0 to 7. Now let's see some examples which can help us understand how to write addresses for input registers. Now the addresses will start from I0.0 and subsequently it will go to I0.7. Now as we know from the memory mapping concept that the bit address goes from 0 to 7 only. Once the byte address 0 has achieved its bit address 0.7, then the byte address will change, and so the bit address will start from 0. So as you can see, the address started from I0.0, I file identifier, then 0 byte address, then 0 bit address. Now for byte address 0, we went from 0 to 7. Now the last address for byte 0 was I0.7. After this, we have to jump for I1.0. Now here 1 is my byte address and 0 is my bit address. Now we have to keep this thing in our mind that for every byte address, the bit address will go from 0 to 7 only. After that, we have to start a new byte address. As you can see, 0, then 1, the next will be 2, and so on. So in conclusion, just try to remember the addressing format, that is file identifier I for input register, followed by byte address, dot, then followed by bit address. This you have to keep in mind so that programming will be easier for you. Now let's see the next type of register. We have seen input register, then it is essential that we also try to understand the output registers too. Now similar to my input register, the output register acts as the same. However, just remember that input register triggers the input bit of the PLC and the output bit is triggered by the PLC. So I is to the PLC and Q is from the PLC. Now again for S7200, the process image output registers are in bits, bytes, words or double words. Now let's see the addressing format. As we can see, for bit address, first we have a file identifier. For output address, the file identifier is Q, followed by byte address, then a dot, followed by a bit address. As you can see, there is quite a good resemblance between this input register and output register. So it will become easier for you to understand this thing that for input and output, the only thing that changes is the file identifier, that is either I for input or Q for output. However, again, how many number of inputs and outputs you have, it is completely dependent on the type of PLC or the model of PLC you are using. Now let's see some examples for output type registers. Now similar to my input registers, the output registers have same conditions. As we can see, they start from Q0.0, file identifier Q, byte address, then bit address. Now once my 7-bit address was assigned, after that the complete byte address 0 is occupied. After that if I have to move forward, then I have to start a new byte address, that is 1. And subsequently I will go till 7. Once complete byte 1 is occupied, I'll go for the next byte address, that is 2, 3 or whichever available, and so on. Till this point, we understood the addressing format of input and output registers. Now before moving forward, I would like to take your attention to one critical point. That is, remember one thing. For any PLC, the inputs and outputs are limited. Based on the requirement, you may have more number of inputs, less number of outputs, more number of outputs, less number of inputs, or equal number of inputs and outputs. Also, it depends on the type of model or the manufacturer you are choosing. That is why keep this thing in your mind that the input and output for a PLC are in limited numbers. Now, in any PLC or for any programmers, the memory bit or the variable bit or byte plays a very critical role, because it gives you the flexibility to store data and to access the data and to transfer the data from PLC to HMI or HMI to PLC or PLC to SCADA or vice versa. That is why the memory addresses are more in numbers for any PLC. However, again there are certain limitations. To know what is the limited number of memory addresses, input addresses and output addresses you have, for that it is highly recommended that you read the corresponding manual. Now let's jump for the next type of register. Before moving forward, let's see and understand our PLC. As in the introduction class, you already know that we will be playing around S7200 models. But which model, how many number of inputs it will be having, how many number of output it will be having, that we will see now. The PLC that you are seeing on the screen is the exact model with which we will be working in the entire tutorial. On my workbench, I have the same PLC. In the coming classes, I'll show you how to wire the PLC. As of now, there are few important note points that has to be taken from this PLC model. So guys, this is the PLC with which we will be playing around. And as you see, the marked ones, the model name and description, order number, input side terminals, output side terminals, number of output bits, number of input bits. Now from this description, you can see that I have 16 number of output bits and 24 input bits. So the addresses I can use is I0.0 to I0.7. Then I can jump for I1.0 to I1.7. Then I can jump for I2.0 to I2.7. Similarly, since I have 16 number of output bits, therefore I can start from Q0.0 and go to Q0.7. Once I have utilized all my output bits, I can go for Q1.0 to Q1.7. As in previous slide, we have seen our workbench physical PLC with which we will be working around. In this slide, I just want to show you how to configure or hardwire inputs and outputs. This is my PLC. You can see the wiring. You can see the number of outputs I have. You can see the number of input terminals I have. That conclude that I can use 16 outputs and I can use 24 inputs. However, this model is expandable. If I want to expand the number of inputs and outputs, then again for that there is a process that we will see and discuss in future classes. Now again, to understand the concepts of wiring a PLC, it is better that we get a clear idea about syncing and sourcing. That is why here I won't be able to give you a clear picture of how this wiring is taken out. To give you a brief idea about wiring and other things, there will be a separate class. To give you a brief idea about wiring a PLC and to make you understand about syncing and sourcing concepts, there will be a separate class in which we will physically see how to wire a PLC. We will try to understand the concepts of syncing and sourcing and how we can apply the concept of syncing and sourcing to our PLC and how we can wire them. As of now, this is our PLC. The wiring and all, no need to worry about it. We will study about it in the coming classes. I'll show you practically how to wire it and we will discuss about syncing and sourcing there itself. As while discussing about input registers and output registers, I told you that apart from input and output registers, we will be playing around a lot with memory addresses. Now let's see how to define them. The first one is our variable memory area. As you can see from the description, variable memory or vMemory is to store intermediate results of operation which are being performed by control logic in our program. Variable memory area can be described in terms of bits, bytes, words or double words. In the below table, you can see for bit address, the addressing format is file letter V followed by byte address, dot, then bit address. This is similar to our input and output addressing type. However, the file letter changes. Now, apart from this bit addresses, when coming to variable memory area, we will be basically playing around with byte, word or double word addresses. The addressing format of them will be V, size type, then starting byte address. From our memory mapping concepts, we know that one double word is equal to 2 words, which is equal to 4 bytes, which is equal to 32 bits. So therefore, if I take V size as word and starting address as 100, then VW100 will be considered for storing the value. I have to keep one thing in my mind while using byte, word or double word addressing formats for variable addressing is that I should thoroughly know the memory mapping. Otherwise, there will be a problem for memory overlapping. Now, what will be the consequence of memory overlapping? That we will discuss, and I'll also show you while we will be directly working with our PLC. As of now, just remember one thing, that if you are using a word address VW100, then remember that one word is equal to 2 bytes. Therefore, byte address 100 and byte 101 is occupied. Just keep this thing in your mind. We will discuss about it in coming slides. Now, similar to variable memory area V, we have bit memory area. This bit memory area we will be using a lot compared to variable memory area. And generally, as discussed for variable memory area, we'll be using the bit memory area in similar format. As you can see from the description, it says that the bit memory area controls relay to store intermediate stages. As from the description, you can see that the bit memory area is to control relays to store intermediate status of an operation or other control information. However, we can access the bit memory area in bits, bytes, words or double words. As we can see, the addressing format is similar to our variable memory area. That is, for bit, file letter M followed by byte address, dot, then followed by bit address. For byte, word or double word addresses, we will be using file letter M, size and the starting byte address. Now let's jump to our next slide and see how this actually works. As I was telling you in previous slide, how the addressing format works, here allow me to show you one example. Suppose for variable memory addressing V, I am using VB100. Then from the slide you can see, or from the image you can see, VB100 is nothing but byte. B is byte, that is my size. So I know that 1 byte is equal to 8 bits. That is why 0 to 7 is occupied by my complete byte address 100. Therefore, if I call or if I take VB100, the entire block of this memory is assigned to this address. Whatever the data I'll be storing at VB100, it will occupy this complete 0 to 7 bit. However, it may not, it depends on the size of the data. But this complete 0 to 7 bits are reserved for 100. Again, if I use V100.1 or something like that, it will show me some garbage value or some irrelevant value. That is called as memory overlapping, about which I'll show you in the coming classes. In similar fashion, what we have seen for byte address, if I'll use it as VW100, then as from our memory mapping knowledge, we know that one word is equal to 2 bytes. So if I am using VW100, then VB100 and VB101 are assigned to VW100. So whatever the data will be there in VW100, that data will be stored in VB100 and VB101. Now in this case, if I try to use VB101, this is called as memory overlapping. Similarly, we see VD100. Now from our previous memory mapping knowledge, we know that one double word is equal to 4 bytes. That is why if I declare VD100, VB100, 101, 102 and 103 are assigned to VD100. So whatever the data I'll be storing in VD100, that is going to take this entire block of memory. That is why in order to avoid memory overlapping, we should have a clear idea about memory mapping. This will help us in a very broad way when we will be playing around PLCs. Now apart from memory registers, variable registers, input registers and output registers, we will be using a special memory addresses for our programming. To have a depth idea about special memory, I recommend that you read the manual. However, for beginner level, what is being given here is more than enough. Coming to special memory registers, the special memory, it provides a means for communicating information between the CPU and our program. Now there are many types of special memory registers. We can access them by bits, bytes, words or double words. The addressing format remains the same, however the file letter changes. The special memory bit provide a variety of status and control functions and also serves as means of communicating information between S7200 and our program. Now, to get a more idea about special memory registers or special memory bits, I advise you to read the manual Appendix D, which is page number 481. Now the page number may change, however, it is available in Appendix D. For our training purpose, we will be using SM 0.0 as this bit is always on, and this is widely or you can say commonly used. Why we will be using SM 0.0? Again, that I'll show you when we will be playing around with PLC program. Till now we have discussed about digital addressing only. We haven't played around with analog addressing. Though the digital addressing plays a critical role while playing with PLC, the analog addressing also plays a vital role while playing around PLC. As we have seen, a PLC will have an input and generates the output. In similar fashion, for analog addressing also, we will have input address and output address. The input address is represented by AI, and as you can see from the description, the S7200 converts an analog value such as temperature or voltage into a word length 16-bit digital value. So with this knowledge, we know that the analog input is going to occupy a memory of word. That means it is going to occupy 2 bytes of memory. 2 bytes of memory is 16-bit. Therefore, if we see the addressing format is AIW0, AIW2 or AIW4 or so on. As it is using 2 bytes of memory, that is why we have a difference of 2 with each consecutive addressing. Now, this is for analog inputs. And as we know, we discussed in digital addressing inputs and outputs. So here also we have input that we have discussed, which is AI, and the output is AQ. AQ is also similar to my analog input. The only difference is the addressing file letters. Now here, as we see from the description, S7200 converts a word length 16-bit digital value into current or voltage proportional to digital values such as for current or voltage. And the addressing we can see clearly here as AQW0, AQW2 or AQW4 or so on. So we know from this that the addressing is going to take a memory of word. A table you see will give you an idea of addressing format. However, we know that the S7200 model's analog input and analog output is going to play around with the word address only. Still, just for clear understanding purpose, in the table we can see the addressing formats. That is, for analog input AIW and the starting byte address, for analog output AQW and the starting byte address. As we can see, the corresponding example for analog input is AIW4 and the corresponding example for analog output is AQW10. In this session, we saw how to give addressing. The addressing plays a very critical role when playing around PLC. So it is necessary that before playing around with addressing, we have a clear idea about memory mapping. As an engineer, it is necessary that we understand these aspects very clearly before jumping into programming. These prerequisites are going to be our foundation for PLC programming. I sincerely request all of you to go through these all prerequisites, that is, these 4 points: the type of switches, memory mapping, addressing formats, and the next topic we will be talking about is the types of PLC inputs and outputs. The next prerequisite doesn't play a critical role, however, it gives you a brief idea about the type of input and output you will be playing with. So with this, I conclude this session. Thank you everyone for joining and watching Quench Curiosity. My name is Hari and we'll see you in the next session.